Hi, I'm Donna Ballard with Where Next Boomers, and today we're in Vero Beach and we are with Bob White, who is a resident here and recently moved, and we'd like to ask him some questions and find out why he chose Vero Beach to live. How long have you lived in Vero Beach?
Not very long. We moved about 2 months ago here.
That isn't very long.
No, it's not very long.
But you've been coming down here for a while.
For about 30 years.
Okay, so you're very familiar with being down here.
That's right.
Okay. And did you decide to come here because it was just comfortable and familiar and warmer than Minnesota?
Yep, so we had lived in Minnesota before, and that was part of it. I mean, there were a few things. We approached it as an engineer, and my wife is as well, analytically. So we wound up living in Orlando for about 6 or 7 months, and we used that time to explore both the Atlantic and the Gulf Coast. And a couple things sold us on the Atlantic. One was the ocean. You can hear it.
Yeah,
we love the waves.
Yeah.
The Gulf is beautiful, but it's more like a big warm lake, and we had spent plenty of time on a big cold lake up in Minnesota.
Yeah, yeah.
The other thing too we liked was as we were looking at the different communities, we were very mindful about having a good balance between sort of old and young, you know, people who are working and people who are retired, and also plenty to do. And so as we began thinking about the East Coast, there were a couple communities we focused in on. Vero ultimately, from our standpoint, was our favorite.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, and I think it's important that people, I really encourage people to rent and to figure out where they want to be. And if even when they decide, okay, I think this is where I want to be, I encourage them to rent for a period of time, because you know, sometimes you come to a place like this after being in the cold weather, and it's a vacation. And it's not the reality of living somewhere. And when you're living in the beauty of this, it's different, and you've got to get into that routine and everything else, and then see if it's really what you want it to be. I think that's important.
Agree.
So I think that what you guys did by kind of settling in for a little bit and figuring out where you wanted to go, that was a really good.
It worked
idea.
well for us. And I think the other thing too, as we've settled in now, I mean, there's aspects of living here that are very different, of course, especially compared to Minnesota. But you know, on the whole, we've really enjoyed it so far.
Yeah. In your few months here.
Yeah, couple months.
Question about affordability and taxes, just because I know that, I mean, to me, taxes are really important. We live in a no-tax state, and Florida is a no-tax state tax.
It is, correct, yep. Yeah, no income tax. They do have, of course, sales tax.
Sure.
But even their sales tax, compared to most other states, is relatively, you know, reasonable. It's average. It's about 7%.
That's pretty, I mean, we were in Arizona, and Arizona's they're higher than that. They're on the high side, yeah.
Well, we've also found, at least around here, there's a lot of folks from the Northeast here. And also a fair number from the northern Midwest. And all of the, I mean, almost everybody who we bumped into have come down partially for economic reasons.
Sure.
The other dynamic that's important is there's no estate tax, meaning that when folks pass away here, they're not imparting some of their money to the state, which unfortunately in Minnesota was the case.
It was the case, yeah. Well, that makes a lot of sense, yeah. So, well, this is, I mean, it's a beautiful area, and we just learned that it's a subtropical climate.
Is it?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a subtropical, which means we have less humidity and cooler temperatures than some of the heat south in Miami and Fort Lauderdale.
And that is actually one of the things we also like about this part of Florida, on both coasts actually, is when you get sort of the middle of the state and further north, it definitely can be a lot, cool is the wrong word, but certainly more temperate, more mild.
Right.
In fact, there's been a few nights, even though we've been here for a short time, where it's been pretty brisk.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, you know, not Minnesota brisk, but yeah, no fire, but certainly, you know, we've had lows at nighttime down around 40.
Wow.
Which,
you know,
people don't think about that.
We lived in California, and we had fires in California, so.
Yeah, true.
You know, so I could go for that. Yeah, that sounds good. So a couple of things. I'm sure you've met your neighbors and you've met a lot of people. What's the community like down here?
Very friendly, very welcoming. Not everybody, many of the people who have arrived in this community, and we saw the same in Orlando, have come from other parts of the country, meaning that they all understand what it's like to go through a transition, which has made everybody pretty welcoming, pretty kind. In fact, we weren't here more than a week, and we already had, you know, quote, a block party with our few neighbors that are here. And it was really nice. So it's been, I wouldn't say a surprise, but it's been something we have loved. I've got a father who lives about 20 miles south of here, and he, having been here for roughly 30 years, we sort of lived through him a little bit vicariously and saw the
sure.
same dynamic.
Yeah.
So it's been fun in that regard.
That's nice. And what kind of activities do they have around that are you a golfer or?
Not yet.
Not yet. You'll learn.
I'm looking forward to
Yeah.
finally beginning to spend some time
Yeah.
doing that. Bike riding's big here, and I've done some of that in the past. I do expect to step that up a bit.
Yeah.
Tennis is big. All the warm weather things.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fishing around here, especially the
Oh, yeah,
locals,
that's sure,
those who
sure.
are younger and have been here for a long time.
Yeah.
The Indian River, which runs between sort of the island, if you will, and the mainland, is hugely popular for fishermen.
Oh, that's fun.
And then even out behind us, there's 3 reefs as you go
Wow.
out, not very far, and so you'll often, not today, but you'll often
Yeah.
see boats out there
Yeah.
fishing along the reefs for everything.
Yeah.
So it's pretty
Oh, that's
active
great.
in that regard.
That's great. Well, it sounds like you made a great decision.
We hope so.
Yeah,
And
I
a couple months in, but we're looking forward to seeing how it goes.
I think it is true though. I think as when we relocate as older adults without kids, it's a tougher adjustment because you don't have the automatic friend connection of just even having something in common with someone just through your children. So it takes a little bit longer sometimes.
It does, and we had the opportunity as we have been married and with our children to move a few times, and so that helped a little bit sort of prepare us for what it would be like.
Right.
But like I said already, there's enough people around who have proven to be well welcoming.
Yeah.
It's not been hard. It'll be a while before we get real close
Sure,
friendships, but
sure.
I think we're off to a good start.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you so much for sitting down and chatting with us.
My
and
pleasure.
Letting us know what it's like to live here and firsthand experience.
I'm happy to. Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you.